Hey everyone, Zotac here again, this time with Game 2 of a best of 3 series from the Zotac Cup Final. And this time on Echo Isles. We have spawning in the top left as the blue human, Yumiko. And Yumiko's opponent spawning in the top right as the yellow night elf, we have Lawliet. Now, Echo Isles is a small map, and on small maps you can see a lot of interesting strategies like tower rushes and creep jacks and everything of the sort, because you do not have to look for your opponent. And so that is something to be aware of in this map, and that may decide the outcome of the strategies that both players are going to be employing here. Now, we do have a fast militia coming out from Yumiko, darting across the map to find out what exactly is happening in Lawliet's side of town. And it looks like we are going to be seeing a Warden coming out of Lawliet and a Mound King coming out of Yumiko. So both of these hero selections are out of the ordinary, as generally I would expect an Archmage and a Demon Hunter, but maybe it's a counter to a counter. Now, you may be asking yourself, why get a Warden first? Wardens are very effective with their Fan of Knives for harassing peasant lines, because it does instant damage to a whole bunch of peasants. And if Yumiko also elects to get footmen, footmen can also go down very quickly to a few Fan of Knives as well. So that is something to take notice of. Now, Yumiko is constructing a scout farm in Lawliet space. This is always one of those great things to see, a scout farm in the Night Elf space. Now, that Mound King for Yumiko, the weakness of the Mound King, obviously, is that even though Stormbolt is a great ability, generally the Mound King doesn't have that much mana. But it doesn't matter here. The Mound King is going to be striding all the way to the mercenary camp, I think, and will be militia creeping. At the same time, looks like we do have a Ancient of War creeping out this mercenary camp for Lawliet on the east side of town. And actually, this Lightning Shield is providing a significant DPS boost for Lawliet, and he's going to be able to take down that Renegade Wizard and getting a Talisman of Evasion. Not a horrible item, effectively giving your hero about 15% more hit points, and that Warden will be able to get to level 2. At the same time, the Mountain King does get to level 2 at almost the identically the same time, and getting a Pendant of Energy, a great item for that Mountain King. As I mentioned before, the Mountain King doesn't have that much mana, but getting a Pendant of Energy is going to give him a few more Storm Bolts. Also picking up Bash. Now, obviously, as a Mountain King, Bash is not a great skill to get because it's very conditional. It's not nearly as good as the Critical Strike is for the Blade Master, but the Mountain King doesn't have that much mana, and so picking up Thunderclap would be very dangerous. It's better just to get the passive ability generally, and that's what Yumiko has decided to do. At the same time, it looks like that Ancient War is still going for more creeping, this time at that Murloc Orange creep camp. The Warden is there and should get to level 3 off this creep camp, as they're all focusing down this Nightcrawler. The Nightcrawler will fall, and what item is dropped? I can't click on it as of yet. The Warden actually is going to turn his attention, or her attention, to the second Nightcrawler, and that will fall as well. Manual Health, not a bad item. At the same time, the Mountain King is at the Goblin Merchant on the south side of the map, selling that Scroll of Town portal, and then getting Boots of Speed instead, as well as a Staff of Preservation.
Players' forces are under attack.
So that Mountain King is going to be behind experience-wise, as the Warden will get to level 3 off this level 1 Murloc. Yes, getting to level 3 is that Tide Hunter, and I expect that should mean level 2 Fan of Knives, so the Fan of Knives can do a significant amount of damage. At the same time, we still have the Militia and Footmen actually creeping out the bottom left gold base. So, are we going to see a fast expansion here as the Mountain King is moving across the map? He will get to level 3, and actually the Manual Health was left behind. The Mountain King will be able to spot it and picks it up. So, great pickup by Yumiko. You know, a bit of a misplay by Lawliet, but he is going to have one Fan of Knives shot on these peasants. The peasants are already weak now. Stormbolt is cast on that Warden. The Warden might come in here again for another Fan of Knives. The peasants are trying to get away. One is in the gold mine. 3 peasants do fall. Another Stormbolt has been landed on that Warden. The Warden is getting bashed as well. And finally, the Warden will be able to blink away down to 51 hit points. That was very, very risky for that Warden, but the Warden will be able to get away, killing 3 peasants in the process, so that was pretty good. Now that Arcane Tower is going to finish, I believe, as there are no Night Elf units in the vicinity. And that Ancient of War is going to be training Huntresses, as that Huntress Hall is now complete. So it looks like we will be seeing Huntresses out, and Huntresses are quite good against Footmen. And it looks like the Shadow Troll piece will fall to that Stormbolt, as well as a hammer to the face, as that Mountain King is looking for more blood. A Dust of Appearance is cast, focusing down on that Archer. Are we going to see a Stormbolt to finish off the Archer? Not yet. Is the Dust of Appearance going to wear off? No, the Archer will fall. And it looks like this Ancient of War is trying to creep. Unfortunately, it's going to be out of position, and it will fall to Yumiko as well. At the same time, Yumiko is fast constructing the expansion Town Hall. This Arcane Tower is doing some damage to the Huntress, but there is no mana to burn. And so this Arcane Tower is not as effective as a normal Guard Tower against the Huntress, as the Footmen do rush in here, focusing down on that Forest Troll Berserker. And the Peasant should be able to finish that Town Hall. But the Warden is going to come in here. Are we going to see more Fan of Knives? I believe so, yes. The Fan of Knives is going to kill one of those Forest Troll Priests. And the Warden is now going to go to work on those 3 Footmen. At the same time, we do have another Stormbolt on that Forest Troll Berserker near Yumiko's base. The Forest Troll Berserker is trying to escape and is going to be able to down to 9 life, but the Warden will get Stormbolted by that Mountain King, and the Warden will be able to get away. So even though that Mountain King has those Boots of Speed, it's actually just about the same speed as that Warden. Another Stormbolt, but I don't think the Warden is going to be caught off guard here, as the Warden is rushing towards a Goblin Merchant, and should be able to hide. Now getting that Boots of Speed as well. Will get Stormbolted one more time, but will teleport back to base. And so that Warden will survive for another fight. Now we do have the Tree of Ages up for our Night Elf players, so we should be seeing a second hero soon. As Lawliet is going to be working on that Scout Farm. The Scout Farm will not survive. But Yumiko does have that expansion up with 1 Arcane Tower protecting it, and still no keep yet. So I guess even though Yumiko has the economic advantage, he doesn't have an additional hero. And this is where the Warden can shine if another hero is selected at the tavern. No hero is selected. It looks like the Warden will be moving across the map. The pig blocks the Warden temporarily. Has to be careful here. And it looks like, yes, the Mountain King will be creeping that Murloc creep camp. And you want to creep out these areas quickly, obviously, because if your opponent finds out you're creeping, the opponent's going to make short work of you, using the creep to their advantage and also attacking you. And that's exactly what might be happening here, as the Warden is going to come in here, and that's going to force a retreat from Yumiko, as a Fan of Knives is going to weaken up one of those Footmen as well as those Murlocs. And the Warden is going to be able to finish off the rest of this creep camp with that Pandaren Brewmaster. So we do have 2 heroes to the 1 of the Mountain King. And now the Mountain King is trying to heal up here with that Clarity Potion as well. Getting extra mana, able to Stormbolt 1 Huntress, able to kill it. Great pickup by the Mountain King. As another Clarity Potion is being used while the Pendant of Energy is actually on the ground. And this way you do actually get proportionately more mana. But the Mountain King will pick it up and will be moving out very quickly here. At the same time, the Marketplace will be creeped out by that Warden and the Beastmaster from Lawliet, as both Ancients of Lore are finished now. So we will be seeing Dryads added to this army composition very soon, and Dryads are very good. Now, if Lawliet does not, if Yumiko continues to construct Footmen, that could be a problem, as Footmen are still pretty good against Dryads, as they have Defend and can bounce back those piercing darts. The Militia are going to come in here and try to engage. Looks like the Brewmaster is completely surrounded, down to 64 life, and that Brewmaster will go down, giving that Mountain King level 4. That Warden is down to 300 life and needs to fall back here. The Dryads are pushing forward, trying to do some damage, but we have a lot of Militia doing some significant damage to these Huntresses. And with slow on this Huntress as well, it's not going to survive, as an axe to the back of the skull is going to end the life of that Huntress as well. Now the Peasants are going to have to fall back now, but the Fan of Knives will catch 1 Peasant, giving that Warden level 4 very quickly. The Mountain King is in hot pursuit. But remember that Warden is very fast and is going to be able to get away using another Fan of Knives, able to catch 2 more Peasants. The Warden down to 45 life. No more Stormbolts are available. So it looks like that Warden will be able to escape once again. So the lack of mana playing a crucial role in that Warden being able to escape. So looks like with this fast expansion up, Yumiko does have the economic advantage. Look at how much gold Yumiko has. Almost 1,300 gold. Doesn't have that much lumber, and will be constructing a blacksmith as well as a farm in the back of the base. No arcane sanctums as of yet, as the keep is almost finished, and we should be seeing a second hero soon. But at the same time, it looks like the Dryads will be focusing down on that arcane tower. And this is very bad. Yumiko is not repairing, finally repairing that arcane tower, but we still have 5 Dryads or 4 Dryads working on it. And finally, the Dryads will fall back for the time being. And it looks like this footman will be caught off guard, and it will go down over time. Too many poison arrows. With defend, is actually going to do some damage to those Dryads, but that footman will still fall. Lawliet is upgrading from a Tree of Ages to the Tree of Eternity. It's not finished yet, but is halfway done, and the Warden is looking for some peasants to kill. Unfortunately, this area is entirely blocked off, so it's not going to be able to do very much. At the same time, Yumiko is in the south quadrant of the map, looking for something to creep, I believe, or maybe someone to harass. Not seeing any Night Owl players. Is he going to pick up a hero at the tavern? Yes, an Alchemist. Very interesting, as the Alchemist with Healing Spray can really counteract those fan of knives. And it looks like the Warden is going to be able to blink away, and unfortunately this one Dryad was ensnared, and it's not going to be able to survive, so some free experience for that Mountain King and that Alchemist. At the same time, this Forest Troll Trapper is going to rush back just to an early grave. So very unfortunate for that Forest Troll Trapper. I guess you should have been hired by Yumiko. But all's well that ends well is the way that it goes. So we have 2 heroes for both players, a level 4 Warden and a level 1 Pandaren Brewmaster for Lawliet, while a level 4 Mountain King and a level 1 Alchemist for Yumiko. And it looks like we are going to see a Dispel on this Mountain King. And now it looks like that Goblin Merchant at the south side of the map will be creeped out by this Alchemist, getting that Alchemist up to level 2. It's really important to level up your very low heroes, as you don't get that much experience for higher level heroes. But it looks like the Mountain King is going to be picked on here, taking a lot of damage from these Dryads. And finally, the Mountain King should be able to dart away here. No, the Dryads are still doing some damage, able to throw a few arrows. No Shadow Strike, and a Stormbolt on that Warden is going to ensure that Mountain King will be able to escape very quickly here. Yes, it will be able to get away. At the same time, the Alchemist is already at level 2. Has a Potion of Invulnerability. Ooh, and a Tome of Intelligence +2. A great item for that Alchemist, as the Murloc Creek camp is going to go down. At the same time, Lawliet is going to clean out his gold mine expansion, and maybe he should pick up that item. The Circlet of Nobility has been left behind. The Pandaren Brewmaster is rushing in here to get it after being resurrected. The Mountain King is actually destroying wisps with the Stormbolt. Very interesting use of the Mountain King to harass. At the same time, we have the Alchemist almost getting to level 3. I think the Alchemist should be able to after destroying this Gargantuan Sea Turtle. So if we have a level 4 Mountain King and a level 3 Alchemist versus a level 4 Warden and a level 2 Brewmaster, I think the hero advantage definitely goes to Yumiko, as the Alchemist, yes, is going to get to level 3. Picked up a Claws of Attack +9 as well. And it looks like Yumiko has creeped out basically everything on his side of the map other than the small green creep camp at the north. The Mountain King is looking for something to harass. No expansion at the bottom right. So this game is going at a fevered pitch, but no player is really able to get the advantage as of yet. Supplies are 49/50 for Lawliet, and 64/74 for Yumiko. So Yumiko does have the supply advantage, a huge supply advantage. But he really hasn't made anything happen yet. Now this Mountain King is caught out of position. He's actually trapped. It looks like a Staff Preservation will save this Mountain King, as he will join the ranks of the Footman and that Alchemist, and will be healed by that Forest Troll Priest as well as the Healing Spray. As that Mountain King and Alchemist are going to be hanging out just for a little bit. At the same time, Lawliet is collecting his forces to get rid of this small green creep camp. And basically almost all the creep camps have been dealt with except this one over to the right and
Player's
one to the
forces are
north.
under attack.
Other than that, all the creep camps have been dealt with. So now this is basically going to be the only way the heroes are going to get experience are by killing each other's armies. Now we do have a level 5 Warden for Lawliet and only a level 4 Mountain King for Yumiko. So level 3 Fan of Knives, I believe, is probably the choice, and that can really do a lot of damage. So I really think Yumiko needs to move out here, already having +2 ranged attacks for his riflemen.
A player's forces are under attack.
As his supply is 79 over 84 compared to 50 over 64 Lawliet. Now Lawliet, if he's able to hold here, you have to remember, because Yumiko's at low upkeep, is actually taking a 30% penalty on his gold. And if Yumiko is not able to capitalize here and this game does go a lot longer, then Lawliet can really benefit from that. But it's going to be difficult, to hold off a 29 supply advantage against your opponent. But here we go. It looks like the Mountain King is going to rush headstrong first into that army, able to throw a Stormbolt at that Druid of the Claw. Fan of Knives has been cast in the middle of Yumiko's army. The militia are coming in here as well. Scroll Protection has been cast. A lot of Wisps are dispelling, trying to get rid of some of the mana from these units. The Alchemist is in the back, but it looks like that first Druid of the Claw will fall. A second one will fall as well. A third one is not going to survive. So a lot of units going down. Breath of Fire is cast, but there are some Spellbreakers in this composition, and a Healing Spray is going to be able to keep a lot of those units in the healthy green, and Lawliet is going to be forced back to his base. His supply is 47 over 70, 76 over 84 for Yumiko, and Yumiko is going to be able to destroy this lone Ancient of Wars. As the Warden does come in here, I don't think that was a very good idea, as the Warden is taking a lot of damage, able to finally blink away after losing half its life, and that Ancient of War will fall. I love seeing peasants in the composition, even though they don't actually do that much damage, but it's always a joy to see the peasants joining the battle. And it looks like the Ancient of Lore will be taking the brunt of the damage, as it is the most frontal building. Druid of the Claw does finish, though, and the Warden does blink into that army once again, as Fan of Knives really does require you to get into the thick of things. Healing Spray is activated once again by that Alchemist. The Druid of the Claw is taking a significant amount of damage, as those Riflemen are going to work on it. At the same time, it does fall. The Ancient of Lore is losing a lot of life. Do we have a Scroll of Town Porter activated by the Alchemist? Yes, we do, as a Footman does fall before the scroll activates. Lawliet at 43 supply, Yumiko at 77, and Yumiko's really far ahead. I'm really surprised. I'm not sure why the Scroll of Town Portal was activated. But, I mean, Yumiko is a very good player. Obviously, Yumiko knows exactly what he is doing compared to me. I just find it a little bit strange. But it is what it is. Yumiko is still in a great position. I guess it's one of those things where if you're ahead, you don't want to lose your positioning, and you want to stay ahead. You don't want to sacrifice units. If you have a lot of units in the red and you can town portal away, that really does solidify your position in the game against your opponent. We do have a Tree of Life being constructed at that bottom right gold mine. And like I said, if Lawliet can stabilize here, Yumiko is taking a 30% gold penalty. So Yumiko, I really think, has to try and finish the game as soon as possible, because the longer and longer he waits, the gold advantage is going to go over to Lawliet. And it looks like a Spellbreaker will fall here for free, as the Dryads are doing a lot of damage. The Spellbreaker is not going to be able to make it, and it does fall, giving that Warden some extra experience. And it looks like the Alchemist and that Mountain King have been waiting at that Arcane Vault for quite a while. Not doing that much. It looks like, yes, a Clarity Potion has been activated at that Alchemist, and now it is time for Yumiko's forces to move out, moving from that Arcane Vault, looking for something to pick a fight with. That Warden is invisible for the time being, able to see that army, and now that Warden is going to dance back and forth, will rejoin the ranks of the Night Elf army. I think this is a wise choice, as he is still down by 30 supply compared to his human opponent. And now Yumiko is sending his forces across the map. But no, both players are playing a game of chicken, and they're both backing off for the moment being. Now, what is interesting of note is with that blacksmith, we actually have imbued gunpowder being upgraded as well. I'm surprised. Generally, you get imbued gunpowder before weapons upgrades, but we actually have level 2 refined gunpowder already researched for Yumiko's forces. And so his units actually do significantly more damage compared to the Night Elf army. And that is really going to give a big boost for Yumiko's army as that Mountain King does charge in there and is going to fall back for the time being. Takes a Dryad arrow to the back, and it looks like, yes, the forces will be going to war against each other. A fan of knives from that Warden. The Warden does lose quite a bit of life jumping into the fray. The Alchemist is chopping away at these Alchemists. A Breath of Fire has been cast into the middle of this. Healing Spray will counteract most of that damage. And it looks like, once again, that Warden will cast a Fan of Knives as well as a Potion of Vulnerability, keeping that Warden alive. That Warden is going to have to fall back, though, as the Warden was in the red. And now it's going to be totally up to the Druids of the Claw. As the first one does fall, another Healing Spray is activated. Alchemist getting to level 4. And that Mountain King is just pushing forward so strong. The Wisps are going to come in here and try and dispel, getting rid of a lot of the mana on those units. Great move by that Wisp. At the same time, the Warden is at full life and he's going to be able to come in here and cast another Fan of Knives. No, not yet. Bashed twice in a row. A Fan of Knives catching a lot of Forest Troll Berserkers. And that Warden is going to fall back for the time being. Once again, that Brewmaster at level 3 is stuck in the middle of everything. It will not survive a Breath of Fire. Unfortunately, that Brewmaster does fall, even though a couple footmen do fall in response. The Alchemist is going to cast Healing Spray once again. The Druids of the Claw are tanking a lot of damage, but there's still quite a few riflemen here shooting from the back line. The Warden will get to level 6, so we should be seeing the Avatar of Vengeance out. Yes, there is the Avatar of Vengeance. And that will be able to kill another rifleman. And with that ultimate, it's going to be very difficult for Yumiko to kill that Warden, as that Mountain King is just a smidge off level 6. If he can get to level 6, then he will get his ultimate, and he can basically go toe-to-toe. At the same time, the Alchemist is almost dead, almost at half life, taking a lot of damage here. As that Warden is going to hide for the time being. That Avatar of Vengeance is just doing so much damage as the Spirits of Vengeance are invulnerable. And another Rifleman is going to fall here. That Mountain King is desperate to get some extra experience. The Alchemist is trying to back away here. Down to 200 life, 157. A Scroll of Temporal will be activated by Yumiko. So Lawliet has been able to hold off the attack. He's down to 34 supply. Yumiko's still at 62. But both of his gold mines are almost finished, and now Lawliet is beginning to mine his expansion gold mine, and this is not looking that good for Yumiko. He still has a 25 supply advantage over his Night Elf opponent, but if he's not able to do it quickly and finish this game, I think the tide can turn very quickly, as there's not much gold left in this expansion gold mine for Yumiko. We do have a level 1 Blood Mage channeling some mana into the Alchemist and that Mountain King as another Healing Spray is used. And I think that is a wise thing to do, as that Alchemist was almost dead. So basically, the current situation is this. If Yumiko is able to come to the bottom right and take out this Tree of Life, then Yumiko should be able to stabilize and win the game. If Yumiko is not able to do that, that's going to give Lawliet a lot of opportunity and a lot of chances to come back into this game. And that is not going to be very good for Yumiko, as, like I said, he's lost all his mining already, down to 2,000 gold approximately at his expansion gold mine, while his opponent has about 10,000. Now his units, his riflemen are at level 3 attack, and his knights are at level 2 armor. So the armor reduction for the knights is at 35%, is quite substantial. The supply is 78 over 84 versus 50 over 80. So this is going to be the time of the game where Yumiko can either win it, or it's going to be very bad for Yumiko, I believe. Very interesting. Game halted due to lack of data from server. It doesn't affect the replay, but I wonder how long the game was halted. Could have been minutes or moments, mere moments. As the king is going to rush in here. The Avatar of Vengeance has been activated immediately. The Knights will go toe-to-toe against those Druids. A Stormbolt is going to help finish off one of those Druids, and the Mountain King will get to level 6, and so there we go. He's very big and very burly, so doing significantly more damage and more armor. A Fan of Knives has been cast in the middle of that. Alchemist gets to level 5, but he's down to 400 hit points. The Druid of the Claw are focusing down on that level 5 Alchemist. Alchemist needs to get out of there. Otherwise, this Alchemist could fall very quickly, and down to 100 life, 200 life, as the Healing Spray is activated. And then Warden is going to have to teleport away for the time being. The Pandaren Brewmaster is going to get to level 4 as well. And there's just so many of these Spirits of Vengeance that it's very difficult for the Mountain King and the human army to come in here. Able to kill another Druid of the Claw, but the Avatar time on the Mountain King is running low, and he's very low on mana as well. That Knight is taking the brunt of those Dryad Spears, and I don't think this Knight will survive. No, yes it will, or will it die back at base? No, it will survive. Very interesting. The Knight does survive with that Staff of Sanctuary. The Mountain King is trying to retreat now, as Lawliet is now really in a good position, as he's been able to thwart Yumiko's aggression.
Town is under siege.
And is now going after that expansion. Now, there's only 800 gold in this mine, but the peasants are falling very quickly. Level 3 Fan of Knives does a lot of damage to a lot of units in a short period of time. And it looks like the peasants will be fleeing now. At the same time, we do not see the heroes of Yumiko trying to engage this area, as it would not be very good. Now, the Mountain King is going to be able to get some mana with that Clarity Potion, but not that much. It looks like Snowball has been cast on the Druid of the Claw. Will the Druid of the Claw fall? No, it will not. And so Yumiko's base has been saved with only 730 gold left in this mine. And like I said, with 9,000 gold in that bottom right mine for Lawliet, Lawliet can really win this game if he just waits long enough. Yumiko is going to rush headlong to that base with 67 supply. Lawliet is still at 50 supply and hasn't hit low upkeep as of yet, and he just refuses to, as a wisp is going to dissipate. The Knights are looking for something to attack, and they will find that Night Elf army very quickly. That Avatar of Vengeance is just so strong because you cannot kill the Spirits of Vengeance. You actually have to kill the Avatar. As another Healing Spray is activated before the human army charges headlong into the bottom right base. There are no defenses here other than the Druids of the Claw and the heroes. Breath of Fire has been cast. The first Knight is taking a lot of damage, down to 250 life immediately. It is going to be saved, but the second Knight will be saved as well. Druid of the Claw is going to go down. Healing Spray is activated on those Knights. And the Mountain King is going to go to work on that Pandaren Brewmaster, missing twice in a row. Finally, a bash has been placed. 2 Druids of the Claw do go down. One of the Knights will be able to retreat to the back line. A Breath of Fire is going to be able to do some damage to those Knights. The Knights are still doing a lot of damage. And another Druid of the Claw will fall here. Yes, the Mountain King does get the killing blow. The Spellbreakers are in here as well, but once again, Yumiko is forced to move his army back, as the Spirits of Vengeance are just doing so much damage. And once again, a Stormbolt has been placed on that Warden, but the Mountain King doesn't have that much energy left. In fact, he can no longer Stormbolt. And this is very, very frustrating for Yumiko, I believe. I think Yumiko really thought he was in a great position to win the game. Instead, he's constantly dealing with that Avatar of Vengeance and not really able to do that much. As every time a unit dies, including his own or his opponent's, it instantly turns into an indestructible unit. And that's just so frustrating for Yumiko. And now he has only 610 gold left. He's at 61 supply, and he's not going to be able to mine anything else, as there are no mines left on his side of the map. The only mine is on Lawliet's side of the map, and he's mining it currently. So I really think Yumiko's got to go for it all here. He's got to spend all his gold, all his resources, and try and just do one last attack. And if this is foiled, I think that's going to spell the end of our human player. And this is the problem without the Archmage. The Archmage gives so much energy with the Brilliance aura, but instead, because there is no Archmage here, even with Siphon Mana from that Blood Mage, it's still very difficult to fill up the mana for the Alchemist and that Mountain King. Look at that Alchemist having 600 energy and just never being full and constantly using Healing Spray. And that's going to give time for Lawliet to build up more forces as he's still at low upkeep. So it looks like we will be seeing a short intermission here. Neither player is really doing that much, as the Avatar of Vengeance is just roaming around. Lawliet's still at 38 over 80 and not constructing a lot of units. This is interesting. At the same time, Yumiko can't really construct anything because Yumiko has run out of gold at his base and only 120 gold left. So it looks like this is going to be it, as Yumiko is going to go for one last dash into Lawliet's expansion, as more Druids of the Claw are being trained. And I think maybe, you know, focusing down on this Avatar of Vengeance might be wise, but it's very difficult because it's being cast once again, killing, is that a raccoon? And able to get a Spirit of Vengeance from the raccoon. Really? I did not know you could do that. A great move by Lawliet. And it looks like this gold mine will be focused down by all these knights. Lawliet is moving back, but the knights are in the front and taking a lot of damage from those dryads. And this is a very tight area. I don't think this is a very good area to engage as the human player, as the Fan of Knives could really do a lot of damage to everybody. That Avatar of Vengeance is falling back, so this looks like a game of cat and mouse that the Wisps come to repair that entangled gold mine. Looks like a Fan of Knives will be placed, but a Stormbolt will be able to stun that Warden temporarily. Siphon Mana was placed on that Warden, as the Mountain King is going to get big and burly, and now he's going to go to town on that entangled gold mine. The Wisps are repairing, and it looks like Lawliet's army will come here to engage, as the Pandaren Brewmaster is stunned once again. A lot of action happening on both sides, and it looks like this Warden is caught, but it can blink away. It is going to be able to get away, but now all we have here is that Brewmaster down to 400 life. Not a lot of energy. Anti-Magic Potion has been used, and so there will be no Stormbolt, but that Mountain King is down to 679 life. And now with a Drunken Haze, these knights will take additional damage from a Breath of Fire, as one of the Druids of the Claw does fall immediately. Healing Spray is activated once again. That Blood Mage is looking for someone to steal mana from. Another Fan of Knives is activated. And it looks like the Spellbreakers will be going to town on this Warden, and the Mountain King is focusing on the Druids of the Claw instead. The Knights are tanking a lot of damage. One Knight will fall here, but the Druids of the Claw are taking a significant amount of damage as well. Healing Spray is going to actually heal up some of these Druids of the Claw. I think that was a misplay, healing up a lot more Night Elf units than human units, as the Druid of the Claw will be teleported away before it falls. And Lawliet is he's not in a bad position here. Healing Spray is going to keep a lot of these Night Elf units alive once again. The Alchemist needs to be very careful where he's aiming that Healing Spray. The Alchemist is down to no mana, so no more Healing Sprays will be activated. Another Druid of the Claw does fall for Lawliet, as the Knight and the Mountain King push forward, focusing on that Pandaren Brewmaster, who has no energy, as Siphon Mana has completely drained that Panda of any energy to cast Breath of Fire or anything else. That Warden is also very low, so basically all the heroes don't have any energy. That Blood Mage is just able to siphon so much mana. Now actually stealing energy from the Druid of the Claw as a Druid falls, and giving more energy to that Mountain King, able to cast another Stormbolt, killing another Druid of the Claw, and Lawliet has now been forced back to his main base. Now, this is interesting, as Yumiko could try and finish Lawliet off here, or go for the more safe play and try to finish off the expansion. But it looks like Yumiko might be coming in here. No, yes, he is committed, and he's going to be rushing in here, but now there is an Avatar of Vengeance. Is this a signal to back off? We have 3 heroes versus 2 heroes and an Avatar of Vengeance. That Mountain King is down to 685 life. Has to be very careful here. That Blood Mage is still stealing more mana. And it looks like the Spellbreaker will be saved at that last moment, giving more mana to that Alchemist. The Blood Mage needs to stand still to transfer mana. And it looks like Yumiko will be falling back for the time being, as Lawliet has been able to regroup. At 46 supply, Yumiko's actually at 50, so very close. And this is very unfortunate, like I said, for Yumiko, because he doesn't have any gold. And as long as this gold mine exists, that's possibly an additional 4,000 more gold for Lawliet compared to Yumiko, who's no longer mining. So this game just has been so action-packed from beginning until now, and I think it's going to be a great finale, as it looks like Yumiko is hanging around the Arcane Vault, buying the last few items he might be able to, but he doesn't have that much gold. Getting a Clarity Potion on that Mountain King, as Stormbolt is very, very important. But like I said, Lawliet still has 4,000 gold to mine out, and Yumiko stuck at 50 supply. Lawliet at 49, so now it's dead even. And Yumiko hasn't been able to cripple Lawliet, and that is very unfortunate. I'm really curious what the outcome would have been if Yumiko went for the expansion instead of going into the main base. But I guess we'll never know now, as the Pendant of Energy has been transferred to that Mountain King, giving that Mountain King a lot of Stormbolts. I think that's 4 Stormbolts he can cast before he's entirely gassed. Now, you do have to also keep in mind that Alchemist is almost at level 6, so 2 level 6 heroes for Yumiko could really turn the tide. But that Warden is at level 6, that Pandera Brewmaster at level 4. We also have a level 3 Blood Mage for Yumiko. But he's got to make this work for him, as this is the last of his army. He's got nothing left, as Lawliet is waiting for the incoming attack. One more Healing Spray will be activated, able to heal up that Mountain King to full. And that Mountain King will now be charging forward, as Lawliet is going to be able to see the Mountain King. Yes, and it's time to get big and burly. Stormbolt is going to catch one of the Druids of the Claw. It will be teleported away, so it will survive, and now it looks like Yumiko will turn his attention to that Tree of Life. No, it will back off for the time being and focus on those Night Elf units. And this is a very difficult position for Yumiko. Does he go after the base or the units? Looks like he will finish off that Mud Golem very quickly. One of the Druids of the Claw will go down from a Stormbolt in conjunction with all those Knights. The Knights are all on fire from the Drunken Haze and the Breath of Fire. This Knight does not look like to be in very good condition, as Healing Spray is activated by that Alchemist. The Druids of the Claw take another Stormbolt, but it will get teleported away once again. And it's really waiting on this Alchemist to get the level 6. One of the Knights do fall. So Yumiko is actually behind in supply currently, as Stormbolt is going to catch that Warden temporarily, but that Warden is just blocking the Alchemist, and actually a Shadow Strike has been placed on the Alchemist. The Alchemist will fall. The Warden does get the level 7. At the same time, the Warden is going to fall, giving that Mountain King level 7 himself. But I really think the army is really much better for Lawliet than Yumiko. And Yumiko doesn't have any gold, so he cannot resurrect his hero unless he sells items. So the Mountain King is going to be by his lonesome for the near foreseeable future. As that altar... No, the Dryad is waiting at that tavern to resurrect that Warden. And once that Warden comes back, I think that's going to be lights out for Yumiko. Another Stormbolt has been cast on that Pandaren Brewmaster, almost at level 5. As Siphon Mana is being transferred to that Blood Mage. The Blood Mage does have 200 mana to give to the Mountain King. Another Stormbolt has been cast at Pandaren Brewmaster at level 4. Anti-Magic has been activated. But will this Pandaren Brewmaster go down? Yes, the Pandaren Brewmaster does fall anyway, so now we have 2 heroes against none. The Warden is back at the middle of the map. A Stormbolt has been cast on the last Druid of the Claw. The Druid of the Claw will fall. The Dryads are in the middle of this. The Knights are able to tank a lot of damage here, and now the Blood Mage and that Mountain King are wreaking havoc in the Night Elf base, as another Dryad is going to fall here. That Warden is back at half life, and siphoning that mana is that Blood Mage once again, but there's not a lot of mana for that Mountain King. Actually quite a bit, 300 mana, able to cast a few more Stormbolts, focusing on that Avatar of Vengeance. Stormbolt has been cast on that Warden, trying to kill it again, but just constantly able to evade death, and the Spellbreakers are going to fall for Yumiko. Only 2 Spellbreakers left for Yumiko.
Player's forces are under attack.
And that Druid of the Claw at 2 life. That Stormbolt not able to finish it off. And now it looks like this Mountain King is in a precarious situation, as he really doesn't have much of an army other than himself and 2 Spellbreakers. The Blood Mage does fall. And it looks like this will be the end of Yumiko, as with only his level 7 hero versus the level 7 hero with a whole bunch of Dryads, that is not very good math, as it looks like this Mountain King is walking back and forth between his death and nowhere else. He's got nowhere to go, and this is really bad for Yumiko. He really had the advantage for most of the game, and he just wasn't able to capitalize. And so Lawliet is still mining gold from that last gold mine. And the Mountain King is constantly being poked in the back with acidy, poisonous spears from those Dryads. And with only an Arcane Tower and a Knight here, I don't think that's going to be enough for Yumiko. As the Dryads are going to throw a few more spears here, and Yumiko is going to tap out. So Lawliet is going to win the series 2-0. Very interesting game, and if you take a look at the score, Yumiko actually had a higher score, having a much larger army. His heroes were better, had more heroes, was able to mine a lot faster. But in the 41-minute game, it doesn't matter who has more points, it matters who wins. So Lawliet does win in fascinating fashion, and I hope you guys found the replay good to listen to and to watch, and I hope to see you guys next time.